when I say manifestation is a lifestyle, what really you're moving towards is different experiences of yourself. I am me, I am lovable, I am worthy. And what would it be like to experience myself in this reality? The reality is not access to a higher state. The highest state is love and acceptance of the self. That's what all religion, all spirituality, all meditation, all prayer, even working out, like all of that is you trying to access a state that you don't reject yourself.
Hi, hello. Welcome to Mary's Cup of Tea, the self-love podcast for women, though all self-lovers are welcome here. I'm Mary. I write and speak about self-love, and I'm best known for my book, The Gift of Self-Love, and I also host retreats for women. And this is the podcast that will inspire you to love yourself. Oh my Lanta. This is arguably one of the most powerful conversations we've had about self-worth on this podcast. And we've had many good ones, but this one is, I feel like especially recently, the podcast conversations have just reached a new level of depth and richness and breadth. And I really, really hope that you listen to this one all the way through the end, absorb it, take it in, take notes if you have to, and do not gatekeep it, because if you love your friends or the women in your life, you are going to send them this podcast episode. And if you don't, I'm not judging, but I'm just going to assume that you don't like them that much, because this interview is that good. Our guest today is Samantha Chung, who is here to talk about why manifestation is actually about self-worth. Her entire teaching and practice and the way that she expounds on the idea of manifestation is deeply rooted in self-worth and self-love. In this episode, you'll learn about the surprising link between loving yourself and manifesting your dreams, how to reconcile manifestation teachings with real issues of privilege, access, limitations, why Sam actually hates the word manifestation. This is so surprising, but I love the way she explained it. How to repair a punitive, damaged relationship with yourself, why self-compassion will not make you complacent, but you already know that. But again, Sam's explanation just hits differently. What body image struggles reveal about safety, control, and self-worth, how to face your own unworthiness and make contact with a deeply supportive part of yourself, the only emotion that lowers your vibration, according to Sam, how to access the emotional experience you think that money, love, or success will finally bring you, and how to see manifestation as a lifestyle rooted in self-love, not as a method to do more, achieve more, check more boxes, or fix yourself in any way. I want you to remember, and I hope Samantha will deliver this message in a way that lands, that manifestation, whatever you want to bring into fruition, it's not going to create self-worth. Rather, it reveals where you've been withholding worth from yourself. And we will go so deep into that idea. But in case you're unfamiliar with Sam, again, I feel so sorry for you, but very grateful to introduce you to her. Samantha Chung is a transformational life and mindset coach, viral content creator, and host of the top-ranking podcast called Spiraling Higher. She's on a mission to help people break free from their conditioned narratives and awaken to their most authentic, limitless self. Her paradigm-shifting perspectives have inspired millions to step into self-love and embody their highest potential. And today, she's here to help you do the same. Follow Samantha on Instagram and TikTok. She's at Simplifying Sam. And without further ado, I don't want you to listen to my voice anymore. I want you to just soak in Sam. Sam, hi, welcome to Mary's Cup of Tea. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
I am kicking myself for not pressing record when we first got on the call, because you've already shared so many gold nuggets with me personally that I wrote down in my notebook. And I can't wait to dive into manifestation, self-worth, unpack a lot of those processes. But first, what's your proverbial cup of tea, like something small that you've been delighting in lately?
Something small that I've been delighting in lately is that the local coffee shop I've been going to since I moved to Thailand, it's actually new. It just opened up a month ago. There's 5 young women who work there. I don't know why, but here in Thailand, every single store is overstaffed. I have no idea what the rules are on that, but there's these 5 adorable women who work there. And I've taken it upon myself to learn each and every one of their names because I see them every morning. And now when I walk in, it's so cute. I walk in and they all go, "Hello, Miss Samantha." And it's the cutest thing in the entire world. And it's this way that I feel like I'm at home, right? Because someone recognizes me and I just feel welcome. So that's my little cup of tea.
Why did you decide to move to Thailand recently?
Well, it actually was a recent action, but actually a past decision. So I think that this has been in my field for over 7 years. I came to Thailand in 2018. And I remember saying then, I planted the seed. I said, one day I'm going to live here. I just know it. And I think that the energy of the place being that it's a country rooted in Buddhism, I can just feel the mindfulness and the really calm natured disposition of the people. Everyone's very open-minded, everyone's very curious, everyone's very kind. And so I just had such a positive experience traveling here. And then my brother actually moved here a year after that, which I thought was this weird universal tease or this tease from the universe that was like, you want to move there? Okay, well, I'm going to send your brother there. How does that feel? And I was obviously very happy for him, but I do remember thinking, man, that was supposed to be me. And not in a jealous way, but it was just this reflection that, oh, I really want that. But I essentially practiced for years after that, 5 years after that, this false limiting belief that I couldn't do it. And it wasn't based in anything. It was arbitrary. It was just based on the way I'd previously lived my life, the way I'd been conditioned. I perceived it to be difficult, that it would be hard to adjust. And so my body just registered that as unsafe and I never moved towards it. And then some of the things in my life that maybe made me feel safe before kind of bottomed out. And I was like, oh, this whole safety thing is a total sham. It's all an illusion. I create my own safety. I finally took the leap and I moved here. And the coolest thing has been arriving and finding my footing and my community and realizing that I was always meant to be here. And also that no matter how long it takes for you to move towards a thing that feels meaningful or aligned for you, it's really never too late. Because I played around with that limiting belief as well. Oh, like maybe it's too late. Maybe I should have moved in my 20s. I'm 32 now. And that never actually was a limitation. It was just a thought that I had. It's perfect timing, I think, now that I'm here. It's been one of the most inspiring things I think I've done for myself. So I don't know if that answers the question, but happy with my decision.
Well, firstly, we're recording this with, is it a 17-hour time gap? I'm just so grateful that you made the time and scheduling and everything. And I've always been very attracted to, well, I went to Bali multiple times for extended stays, and I've always just been attracted to that kind of lifestyle. Like you said, it's very like Buddhist rooted there too. And I've been wanting to go to Thailand for a while. And I love the little clips you post of you and your brother's family and the coffee shop story. Like that is so divine.
Yeah, it's been an incredible place for me to land, and yeah, I think decisions are more representations of who we've become. I mean, do the decisions really make or break you? I don't think so. I think you make or break you. I don't think that moving here or not moving here would have been, the decider of my fate, but I think that we make these decisions and they show us, yeah, who we've become, and that is really incredible. So, whatever decision whoever listening to this right now is like thinking of making or is going to make, it's not the decision that heals you or changes you. It gets to be a reflection of who you've become. And so for me, I thought it's not really Thailand that's saving me. It's more like, wow, I'm becoming a more courageous version of myself that trusts me. And that's what the decision represents. And that's why it feels so good, because I'm so courageously making all of these choices even now that I'm here. And it feels good to be this bold version of myself. But yeah, I don't think it's places that really change us. I think we're changing, and those places are just in the background.
I'd love to lean into that a bit more, because I told you off air that I left Arizona, hated it here, told myself I would never come back, and then ended up having a terrible breakup and came back with my tail between my legs. only to find myself many years later actually genuinely loving it. Like, I love the desert that I said I hated. I love the nature, the people that I always like
Mhm.
said like, oh, Scottsdale is not for me. Like, I pretended like, that was all there was. And somehow as I've grown, my mindset started changing immensely, more than I ever thought it would.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you
Yeah.
said, it's not even about the location. Like, somebody might be listening thinking, oh, I would also love to move. Well, I, came back and
Mhm.
stayed. Like, you can also stay and have that experience too.
Oh, absolutely. Your relationship to any place is a complete mirror of your relationship to yourself. I have a parallel experience just to quickly add on to what you're saying. But, when I was growing up in the States as a young Asian girl in the South, I definitely think I experienced an inner rejection of my Asian culture, right? It wasn't something that had the space to really be celebrated, and I didn't belong to any sort of communities where I could feel proud of that. And so it's so odd that I'm living in Asia now, and it feels like this homecoming, and it was a place that I never thought I would ever live. Like, I'd experienced this sort of inner rejection, which has been manifest by my life in North America. I'm not saying that everyone living their life in North America is rejecting their heritage or something like that, but for me, living here feels like a reclamation of those parts. And it's happened to me in other places around the world too. I remember living in New York at 19 and thinking this is the worst city in the world. I don't know why anyone would want to be here. And then revisiting 10 years later and being like, New York is awesome. Like, I love this place. And of course, the places themselves don't really change. They remain pretty consistent in the collective energies that hold them. But I could see that my relationship to self had been changing in the foreground. And so then I was able to interact with those places in such a different way, which is probably what you're experiencing now in Arizona. It's like it's the same place, but not the same you.
How do you reconcile the power of manifestation and what we're talking about now, like the you changing embodiment, being the fullest version of you, and then everything around you reflecting that, with perhaps real privilege differences or access, those kinds of socially conscious themes? And I ask that because I reluctantly have been reading Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza. I know a lot of people
Mhm.
absolutely swear by him for this kind of work, and I was just curious what the hype was about. There's some greatness in it, but there's this one story that he tells about how his daughter like manifested this trip to Italy. I did have one of those moments where I was like, Joe, I don't know if this particular story belonged like this early on in the book, especially for those who are kind of like in
Mm.
the depths of struggle. Now, that of course might be a projection, but it definitely felt like, a lot of people don't even have the opportunity to think about manifesting a graduation trip to Italy. I apologize if I sound bitter.
No, not at
How
all.
do you think about that?
No, it's a really fair question because I think that the kind of manifestation that's shown up online or become popularized seems a bit like out of touch,
Mhm.
right? Like the way that people are marketing their manifestation is by showing like them on a yacht or something like that, as if this is the thing that you should want to manifest, or this is proof that your manifestation is working. But I think in terms of whether or not manifestation is socially conscious is an unfair question because I don't think that someone reaching for something is necessarily harmful. I think what's harmful is teaching people that that is the only and superior thing to be reaching for. What someone decides to engage with manifestation for is going to be based on their own experiences and privileges or lack thereof, right? What someone wants to manifest will differ depending on who knows which social class you fall in. But I don't think that what you want to manifest is necessarily socially harmful. If someone wants to, let's say, manifest, oh, like a nice new car, someone could easily say, oh, that's not very mindful of people who can't manifest a car. But I don't think that the person wanting to manifest a car is harming those who is not able to. It's only harmful if they tell the person who can't manifest a car that they're not experiencing their own power, that they are not experiencing something desirable in life without this car. I think that teaching people that they're experiencing lack where there may not actually be any lack, that could be harmful. But if you are wishing for, let's say you want to go on a trip to Italy, I don't think that's harming anyone. I think it's a completely fair thing to desire. But the thing that I really question when it comes to manifestation is what is the actual experience underneath the trip to Italy, the car, whatever experience is you are fixated on. What's the somatic experience you actually want to unlock? And I've had a different podcaster ask me before, can everyone manifest what they want? And I said, yes, because what everyone wants is a somatic experience. Everyone can actually access the somatic experience. It's a problem when we teach people that you can only be happy if you find the one. You can only be happy if you have a graduation trip to Italy. You can only be happy if you own a boat, right? That's where the harm happens because you're teaching people that they're powerless and that they don't have access to their innate power to experience happiness, joy, and their own creativity. I guess just to sum it up, it's not harmful to wish for something that maybe your social class is able to reach for. It's harmful when you teach people that that's the only way to experience your own power, creativity, and freedom. And you can experience those things through a multitude of ways. And it's important that we empower people to be able to experience their creativity, their love, their freedom through not only materialistic things, but maybe through community, through service, right? There's a million ways to experience abundance. It's not only through materialism. And so one of the things I actually say when I'm talking to my clients about manifestation is I'm not guaranteeing that I'm going to help you make $1 million. That's not what this is even about. I'm guaranteeing that we're going to change your relationship to yourself so that you feel happier and more free and less attached to even wanting $1 million. And it doesn't mean that you won't be able to experience that. Releasing your attachment to that is actually going to help accelerate you towards it if that's what you want to create. But again, I think the harm is in teaching people or suggesting that this is the only way to happiness. Listen to me.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the things I also tell people is entrepreneurship, for example, is something that's highly idealized. But in my actual conversations with people, I tell them it's really not that glamorous. Like if you can enjoy a really balanced life, waking up at a certain time every single day of the week, getting off at this time, you balance that with your hobbies, your community, your connections, you have a great life next to mine, right? Sometimes my life is far more imbalanced. And so I would never teach people that, oh, entrepreneurship is the way to be happy. Free yourself, right? You might be living completely and totally freely and abundantly, happily in your corporate job. Don't let someone tell you that that's the only way to be happy is if you quit your job. But if someone wants to become an entrepreneur, it's not harmful to people who are in their corporate jobs.
Absolutely. To everyone listening, this is why I had Samantha Chung on the podcast to talk about manifestation specifically, because I think it's a delicate topic only because, like you said, a lot of the rhetoric is very much about surface level, manifest the trip to Italy. And no shade to Joe, like he obviously went so much deeper than that.
I know.
Just an example. And you mentioned to me that you don't really like the word manifestation that much.
I don't.
And you don't. Yeah, tell us why.
Yeah, no, it's a great topic we can go into because me and a few of my friends who are, I guess, known for teaching manifestation, when we get together, witches around the round table, we actually talk about how we wish we could just banish this word. And we hate that it's even in our bio, but it's because the word is ultimately going to attract people who haven't created a strong relationship to self. They're still looking outside of themselves. So there's intention still in using the word because these are the people we ultimately want to help. But the reason why we don't like the word manifestation is because people look at this word or this concept and they think, okay, this is the strategy, the technique, or the method that I'm going to use in order to feel better, more acceptable, more superior, more happy. And we act like it's this linear process that you're going to just kind of plug and play. And then at the end of it, you're going to be a superior, happy version of yourself. When really all of that does is continue to reinforce the belief that something outside of you makes you a more acceptable, lovable version of yourself, which is actually the antithesis of manifestation. What's so ironic is the thing they're trying to use to feel better is actually the way that they continue to create their experience of feeling bad. And so our intention by teaching manifestation is not to get people to continue to try to use this method and keep them in this kind of gridlock where they need something outside of themselves to feel okay, but is to actually help them see that your desire to want to manifest something is to ultimately experience a more positive relationship to yourself. And so for anyone listening, maybe you are thinking right now of your desire to manifest, your object of desire. What I really want you to hone in on is, what will that allow me to think and feel about myself? And for most people, it's, I'm just going to judge myself less. I'm going to be more satisfied, more peaceful. But what's happening is most people have a very self-critical relationship to self. And maybe the manifestation of money or the manifestation of a partner or the manifestation of a house, they think is going to hit pause on that habitual relationship to self. But what's actually really sad is that usually doesn't. So people will even manifest those things, but continue to do that. So what we hope is that through coming to someone like us who's teaching about manifestation, what we get to tell you is that we're going to change your habituated relationship to self, which is currently self-critical, which is very judgmental, which is asking you to manifest something before you can think a positive thought, which we help you see is very harmful towards yourself. It's the punishment paradigm, where if you do this, I'll be nice to you. And if you don't, I'll be mean to you. And so the meaner we are to ourselves, usually the more attached we are to wanting to manifest something. So what we actually move them through, or at least what I actually move people through, is an entire releasing of all of these self-critical programs. And we learn to relate to the self much more compassionately and warmly and with love. And then we start actually accessing the somatic experience that we thought the partner was going to give us. We start accessing the somatic experience of what money was going to give us. Maybe it was relief, ease, less stress. Ironically, releasing all this tension, releasing all this stress frees up a lot of energy for you to be able to move towards those things. You haven't been able to actually move towards them, which is why you desire to manifest them, because you experience the tension and the rejection of yourself for not having them. As long as you perceive it as a thing you need to manifest, you continue to create that tense gap. So my goal with teaching manifestation, which I say it's really a lifestyle, not a practice. And the lifestyle is questioning compassionately as you learn of a new desire, why you perceive it as something that's going to make you more acceptable or lovable. And what is the gap between that version of yourself and this current version of yourself? What is it that you're bestowing the version of you with money, the version of you with the partner, the version of you with the car? What are you bestowing them with that you haven't given yourself yet, that you won't allow to give yourself yet? The work then, or the lifestyle, is learning how to relate to that version of yourself now with what you want to give the future version of yourself. Because the future version of yourself is not bestowed that from the money. It's not like the future version of yourself will be knighted as soon as you make the money or as soon as you get the partner. Who's doing that? If there is a knighting of the self, it's through you. You're bestowing yourself with more acceptability. You're bestowing yourself with more lovability. And so the work is, how can I engage with myself in that way now? Now, here's what's really cool about that. And this is very in alignment, I think, too, with Joe Dispenza. Once you do that, now you don't really desire the thing as much anymore. Your emotional tie to it begins to weaken because you're like, oh, I'm already happy, right? It's like the phenomenon where you attract someone when you weren't looking because you were loving your life so much. You were having so much fun. And then all of a sudden someone's walks in the room and you guys have a great night together. And then, oh my God, you're in a relationship. Happens all the time because we're not actually creating this tension and this space between us and that reality. We're energetically that reality now, right? We're at ease. We're having fun. We feel happy. We feel abundant. And this is freeing up all of that energy for us to move towards that and for that to move towards us. And so rather than creating this constant gap between I'm here, I need to go there, we close the gap. And closing the gap is what creates so much energetic harmony. We're not fighting ourselves. We're not constantly in resistance. So we actually need manifestation less. But this is what's so funny. Like what my clients will say when I've been successful with them is not, oh my God, I manifested this much money, or I manifested this. My success with a client is, oh my God, I realize I actually don't need anything. You made me realize I actually don't need to manifest that to be happy. And I'm like, Bingo. Now give them a couple months and they're going to come back and tell me that they have it now, which is so funny.
Yeah.
Because they literally said, I don't even need that anymore. And they'll actually joke to me in a loving way. All of my clients become like my best friends. So if they're listening to this, they know. But they all say, man, you really duped us, Sam. You really duped us into thinking that we were going to manifest like all of our dreams. And it's so funny because they get something so much better. And I'm not saying that they don't get to manifest some of those things that they had previously objectified, right, in the field. They can, and they do. But they get back something so much greater, which is they learn how to access the loved version of themselves in the present, which makes manifestation less desirable. They're just like, oh, that old thing? Yeah, maybe I'll go for that. But this sort of flippant attitude too is what creates space for that. There's less constant judgment. There's less overthinking. There's less self-doubt. So sometimes it's just like, yeah, I'm just going to try this thing and like, I don't know, see what happens. I'm just going to throw my name in there. And then they'll be like, hey, Sam, this is so crazy. I applied for this thing and I got it. And I'm like, yeah, because you didn't hold yourself back. Because when you need it, there's a lot of tension. Should I do it? Is it going to work out? What if it doesn't? Right? All of that stops you. But when you have what you wanted from it, which is I love myself, that's ultimately what manifestation is. It's like, I get to love myself now. So instead of waiting till you have the thing, you do that work inward before, then you're just like, yeah, fuck it. Let's see what happens. Right. And this happens too with my girls who are wanting to manifest a partner, right? They obviously come to me thinking that they can only feel happy and whole and loved if some random arbitrary man tells them that they're pretty and likes them. And then they realize, oh, that's totally unnecessary. I don't even need him. And then they're like, yeah, someone actually wanted to set me up and like, I'm just going to go see what happens. Like jokes, it's like this kind of free flowing, let's just see what happens vibe. And the let's just see what happens vibe is what allows so many incredible things to unfold. It could be relationship. It could be job opportunity. It could be this seed was planted and then I met this person and then this thing happened totally unexpectedly, because all of our self-rejection and tension and stress and anxiety isn't getting in the way of the unfolding. That's why I say manifestation really becomes a lifestyle. It's not so much, oh, I'm constantly getting these things. It's just this really cool practice of me seeing myself as already there and not rejecting myself now and seeing myself as better with that thing, but seeing myself as worthy of the thing and then just going for it. And seeing where I land, but not even caring where I do land because I'm worthy over there too, right? And so you become far more supportive of yourself. And this is also what, of course, supports you manifesting literal things.
Totally. I love that. I love myself over there too. I guess that's what you would call the law, or I like to call it the art of detachment. And you mentioned before hitting recording that manifestation is the unconscious search for self-worth. I suppose what I'm hearing you say is that the art of detachment, it's not about detaching, kind of like what we see in a TikTok clip. Like, I don't care, the facade of detachment. It's about, if it's the unconscious search for self-worth, then it's removing the search. It's just having self-worth now. And that's what lets you detach.
Yeah. The detachment is actually your self-worth from the thing that you assigned it to. Let's say you want to manifest whatever, like dream body. This is like a whole thing, right? I think once you love yourself, whatever body you're in becomes a dream. But if you are still in that sort of search for self-worth, then you decide to assign something like dream body self-worth. And so, yeah, your desire to manifest that and create that result is this unconscious search for self-worth. But when you actually unstake self-worth from dream body, or anything for that matter, you can actually move towards that result quite pleasantly, right? Like, imagine like trying to like lose, this is actually what I used to do, trying to lose enough weight to get to a certain place on the scale so that like you can be happy. And of course, it's all an illusion too, because by the way, once you get there, you're so afraid it's going to change again. You're like, oh my God, I finally reached my goal weight. Yeah. I have to eat even less now because if it changes, I'll be devastated, right? Because you've continuously and unconsciously staked your self-worth on it. So the number's like this fixation and like so hyper important to you, even though it doesn't actually hold the power to have your self-worth staked on it. You keep doing that. But when you remove it, your relationship to self is not dependent on what's going on with respect to the scale. And you can just move or not move in alignment with how you're feeling. Your relationship to movement, for example, can feel a lot more supportive. You could take rest days. I've had so many people come to me actually who usually what happens is whatever they've been using in order to sort of placate themselves or cope with the fact that they keep staking their self-worth on something, it gets disrupted in some way. So for example, I've had a
Mhm.
client who, multiple clients who are like really obsessed with working out and like eating a certain way, and then they get injured. And this is actually a divine intervention. This is actually an opportunity for them to see how unloving they've been towards themselves. They can't even see it because they just keep coping by going to the gym, going to the gym. And then they're overworking so much that something happens, they pull a muscle, right? They like sprain an ankle. And they're not just uncomfortable physically, but what's happening inside of them is far more than physical. It's deeply like emotional, and it's bringing up so much self-worth stuff because they're not able to do that thing that helps them feel
Mhm.
like they're achieving worthiness. And it's actually perfect timing for me. Those periods I love to support people through because we get to see how damaged the relationship to self is. And anything that's been damaged, also, I want to say with love, can be repaired, which is a really beautiful thing about the human spirit and our brains, right? They're malleable and they can be changed. So whatever pattern it is that you've been reinforcing for years, it can change. I've seen it with hundreds of people. And there are even people who think, oh my God, but I've been like this for 30 something years. I've been like this for so long. And let me tell you, the energy of love is so powerful. It's so powerful that what you've been doing for 30 years can literally be reversed in 3 months. I see it all the time. People who've been hating on themselves, judging themselves, doing everything stressfully with hustle, like their hair is falling out. And then in 3 months, 4 months, give it 6 months, they're a completely different person because the way they're
Mhm.
relating to themselves is so positive. It's such a healing energy when you start relating to the self with compassion and love. It changes everything. And then it doesn't mean they don't stay like active, for example, if that's a thing they'd staked their worth on before. They do, but it's in a totally different way. Like the way you approach it changes. And I think the way you approach anything or sustain anything is how you really experience it. And so, yeah, they might have a relationship to movement that's just a lot more intuitive, right? As opposed to, I have to go every day. Otherwise, I'm going to hate myself.
Hey, self lover, sorry to interrupt, but do you have my self love playlist? There's over 300, if not 400 songs on it that are so fun and uplifting and empowering. And I think will really be perfect for when you're getting ready, trying to hype yourself up, dealing with a bad body image day, or anytime you just want a little boost of self love. These tracks will do it for you. So head to maryscupoftea.com/playlist to get it and know that I am dancing and jamming with you from afar. Cheers. You said in a video you're going to feel the same way at the destination as you do during the journey. And with body image, especially, I
Yes.
definitely learned that the hard way. And I'm sure people learn it
Yes.
with money or with, like you say, finding love. And, if you got to kind of be en route to working on your self worth if you are to feel full and whole and complete at the destination.
Exactly. I think the thing that I really try to like drive home with my clients is that you're going to feel how you habitually feel. And that mantra is kind of the encapsulation of that teaching, right? Which, yeah, the destination feels like the journey. You feel how you habitually feel. So if you normally feel self critical, if you normally feel self doubt, if you normally are anxious, manifesting anything is not going to change that. Maybe for a moment, you might get a dopamine hit and then feel pretty good for like a day or two, but then you're going to go back to how you habitually feel. So, the work and why manifestation is a lifestyle, not just a method or a process that you start and complete, it's about changing how you habitually feel by ultimately transforming the way you relate to yourself. When I say that,
Mhm.
some people are confused because they're like, "Well, relate to myself? Like, what does that even mean?" Well, most of us have unconscious attitudes about ourselves. People like myself, actually, and the reason why I do this work is I engaged in so much self criticism and rejection that I didn't even know I was engaging with myself that way. I wasn't even aware. I just thought that's how I am. And it took a long time to even see that no, that's the way you're relating to yourself. Right? It's like
Mhm.
if you were to talk to someone really negatively and through the lens of judgment, nothing was ever good enough for you. You could see easily if you were to do that to a person outside of you how damaging it would be. So obvious. Or if you did it to an animal even, you would have no relationship to that
Mhm.
animal. It would not feel safe around you, and neither would a person. But I couldn't see it because it's all happening inside. And most of us can't see our relationship to ourselves because yes, like we can't see ourselves. That's kind of the interesting design of being a human is we literally can't see ourselves even though we are ourselves. And so we're relating to ourselves in this unconscious way, usually through a lot of judgment. And so we have to learn how to see that first. Like, oh
Mhm.
wow, I am relating to myself, but it's not positive, right? Everything I do is not enough. Everything I do is bad. Everything I do sucks. Yeah, it takes a while again for people to even see that they do this. And then usually once they do, which takes some time, because a lot of it is them usually thinking it's just truth. That was how I functioned for a long time. I'm like, "But I am bad." Or like,
Yeah.
"But I do suck." You're just like,
It's
"But
like,
I am."
yeah, you get this like sick Stockholm syndrome with yourself where you become so
Yes.
infatuated with the idea of like criticizing yourself. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. You
It's this
become
illusion.
devoted. So you become actually wholeheartedly devoted to it. And then you just think like, "But that's who I am." It's like, "No, that's how long you've treated yourself this way." So now you
Mhm.
formed a sense of self based on this treatment. Once we start getting people to see, oh, that is how I'm relating to myself, it's not a truth, there's usually some level of grief. Like, oh my God, like, I can't believe I've
Mhm.
been treating myself this way. Like, this is so sad. I can't believe I've been like this. And then we have to kind of like unpack the fact that someone taught you how to be like this. And like, that's really sad too. And then usually my clients, they always go through this period of like, I can't believe how mean I've been. And it's a really good moment because they start to see that it's not the truth of who they are, but it's this patterned way that they've been treating themselves. And we can change a pattern. And so once they kind of grieve with this acceptance and sadness about the relationship to themselves and how harmful it's been, then we start building this positive relationship. And it's very awkward, by the way, at first,
Mhm.
because you've been teaching yourself for so long that you can only relate to yourself positively if you get things from the world. If you get a promotion, if you get a raise, if you have a celebration thrown for you, like you graduated, oh my God, you had a baby, right? We're only used to relating ourselves in this way positively. So of course, like we become attached to that stuff. We want to feel good about ourselves. So it's very awkward when you start being nice for no reason. It's very awkward. People will be like, "So what do I do? Do I just say nice things to myself for like waking up and making my bed and going to work?" And it's like, "Yeah, that's pretty big." And they're like, "No, that's like nothing." It's like, "No, you've been treating yourself that way for so long that it feels like nothing." So it's this, again, this awkward baby step way into moving into a more positive relationship where, yes, you do start saying to yourself, like, okay, like I got up today, that was good. Oh, I called my friend today and I was supportive to my friend. And like you kind of start
Mhm.
off in this like sarcastic way because you're like, this is weird. And like, I shouldn't be nice to myself unless it's like a big deal. And then you start realizing that being nice to yourself is the big deal and, like, that's what you've been seeking this whole time?
Yeah, and also like who defines the big deal?
Yeah, exactly, they're so arbitrary. It's like a big deal could be that you rolled out of bed this morning. The relationship to self begins to transform to be something that's not like sometimes my clients' fears are like, "What if I get so full of myself?" I'm like, "That doesn't happen." Like, you have self-awareness. Like, you're not all of a sudden gonna, like, roll around on the floor all day and be like, "This is amazing." No, it's just you do need to kind of, like, overwhelm yourself in the beginning with a lot of kindness, but you will eventually kind of, like, level out.
I have to ask, have you actually had a client be like, what if I get too full of myself? I would be like, do it, girl.
Do it, girl. Do it, girl. Well, I usually have clients be like, "Okay, but if I take it overboard with with the self-love kindness crap, then I really am just going to like end up being a couch potato that does nothing. And I actually do say something along those lines. I say, okay, try it. So their fear is that they're just going to become like do nothings for the rest of their life. But usually they need to sit in that fear long enough to realize that you only stay on the couch for as long as you need to. Like you're usually really overwhelmed and really overworked. And so, yeah, it could be the case that you want to stay there for 2 weeks and you probably need that. But their fear is that they're going to be there for the rest of their lives.
But this fear of complacency is again a reflection of what you were talking about earlier, is like the low self-worth aspect of like I won't be able to, get my temporary high unless I achieve or check a box or, get the external validation.
Exactly. Yeah. So the desire is, oh my God, I need to get off the couch because that's the only way I achieve my worthiness. Ironically, the experience they probably need is to be on the couch long enough to see that that's still okay and acceptable and worthy, so that they don't constantly need to reach outside of their living room to feel okay.
This is why, Sam, I love the way you talk about this, because I think in some ways it sounds tautological, right? Where you're like, you gotta sit on the couch because then you're gonna get off the couch, but also like stay on the couch because that'll build your self-worth. And so it feels a little bit like chicken or the egg cyclical, but that's even more so why I love the name of your podcast, Spiraling Higher, because it's the exact antidote of that downward spiral, because downward spirals, negative thinking is also tautological, also rooted in cognitive bias, also rooted in reflecting whatever you're feeling on the inside. So I just wanted to highlight that. And it brings me to something you also said in a video, with the first one being, you will feel the way you habitually feel. Really love that. And you can change the way you habitually feel. And the next one is, feeling unworthy is the best opportunity for self-love. What does that mean?
Oh, that's a really deep one, to be honest, because remember that most of people's attachment to manifestation as a process, right, a tautological process, is the unconscious desire to feel worthy. We want this thing to come into our reality or to experience XYZ so that we can feel good. And so a lot of it's this unconscious avoidance strategy. We're using what we perceive as a process, manifestation, to get away from our perceived lack of worth. Like, oh, if I achieve this body and if I get this money, like I don't have to feel worthy. So we're trying to avoid that experience. But actually, it's a very, very powerful experience to face the feeling of unworthiness, which is really some mixture of shame, guilt, sadness, powerlessness. I'm going to be honest, it feels awful. But what feels worse is trying to avoid it your whole life. But if you sit in this feeling of, fuck, I just feel so unworthy. Like I just feel not good about myself. I feel like I'm not enough. If you sit in that feeling for long enough, and when I say long enough, I mean like 120 seconds. It's actually not that long when you stop trying to run away from it. It'll just feel like this gross heaviness. And maybe you'll hear those thoughts like I'm not enough or like I suck. And just allow yourself to be there. It's going to surprise you. But it's this very benevolent presence, and it's you, or you could call it God, whatever you believe in. But it comes online to remind you that that's not true. And it only comes online to remind us that when we're actually feeling it. If we avoid feeling it, we never hear that refrain or that truth. So when we sit in this feeling of just like, oh, I'm not enough. I'm never good enough for anything. I just suck at everything. I fuck it all up. Whatever kind of thoughts circle when you feel that shame. When you get to the bottom of that feeling, you're going to make contact with a really deeply supportive, loving part of yourself. And it's when you make contact with that part of yourself that you begin to build a stronger relationship to self that helps you see that you can withstand the feeling of even unworthiness. And actually, the belief in your worthiness isn't even true. And so then your pursuit of things is no longer inspired by your avoidance to feel this sensation, but will be led by something higher. Like, wow, this is a really meaningful project to me. I can't wait to collaborate with these types of people. For example, your podcast is not, oh, I really need to make sure I create enough episodes and talk to enough cool people so that I don't feel bad about myself. It's, I'm really looking forward to meeting with a bunch of different people and having conversations that shift people, right? Your desire and movement towards things becomes a lot more heart and service based than
Mhm.
it does fear based, because now you don't have to avoid feeling unworthy. You access that experience, and through it you actually feel love for yourself. You're like in this horrifying like shame spiral of like, I'm not enough, I'm not enough. And then it's usually in that place where you start feeling into, no what, no, that's not true, I'm not bad, no, like
Yeah.
I don't suck at everything. It's a really beautiful thing that happens, but it actually only happens when you're fully in that feeling. And so it's a gift. It's a gift. It's a gift to feel so unworthy. And I actually do it often, by the way. I let myself feel unworthy like many times. Like I'll feel like just bad about something and I'm like, "Yo, let's go into this unworthiness." And I'll just lay on my bed and I'll be like, "I feel so bad about myself." And then I just like let myself fall into this badness, right? This is like I guess like shadow work practice. And then as I'm there, I come back for myself. I don't know how else to describe it, but there's a part of me that comes back for me and is like, "You're okay. You're not bad. You're
Mhm.
just feeling bad." And then when I come back from that, I feel released from the fear of unworthiness because I survived it. And something within me saved me from it or was able
Mhm.
to attune to me in that space. And so now I don't fear unworthiness anymore. I'm just kind of like vibrating at the frequency of self-love, and it carries me for sometimes months. And I can't even believe how before I sat in that feeling of unworthiness, how much it was holding me down. Like I couldn't even feel the weight until it was fully lifted. And so, yeah, feeling unworthy, I think, is the most incredible opportunity to release yourself from fear, because I think that's ultimately what our fear is that we are unworthy. That's
Right.
like the worst fear. Yeah, like I'm
Yeah.
unlovable.
It's the emotional equivalent of hitting rock bottom and then realizing that you can only go up from here. And I think,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
every spiritual practice too has its version of that kind of redemption, whether that's like Catholic confession or I know
Mhm.
the
Exactly.
there's different versions of that, or laying on your bed and being like, I hate myself right now. But like you said, that can take 120 seconds as opposed to always simmering in the background.
You know what? I love that you brought in the other religions and other practices that all have their own version of this. Cuz yeah, we've all been saying the same thing for millennia, right? But it's literally like going to that confessional booth and being like, "Father, I have sinned. Like I am bad." And it's just that moment where you just humbly see yourself without this protective layer, and you get to release it. You get to release it, right? It's just you being like, "Ugh, man, I feel terrible about this." And then you're forgiven by yourself. I mean, confessional is kind of like this weird thing where it seems like someone else is forgiving you, but really you're giving it to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Well, again, it's like a mirror. Like some people need the father to like reflect that
Mhm.
and to provide that validation. But I mean, I'm non religious, so I firmly believe that you can give that for yourself. So I love that you said it could
Mhm.
come from yourself or God, whatever you believe in. That's kind of what sparked that idea. And when I watched that video of yours, when you said essentially like feeling unworthy is like the ultimate opportunity, I was just so beyond moved, and that's when I went into the shower and then had to like come out soaking dripping wet just to write down this thought, which I'm just going to like monologue to you for a second and then you can see if you agree
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah.
But I wrote like what will lift your vibration isn't always positive thinking, because for example, anger can lift your vibration. It's a vehicle or catalyst for change. And women especially don't often allow themselves to feel angry, and sadness can lift your vibration because it's illuminating, it's cleansing. Like even our tears are made of the same water that falls from the sky when it rains, and water is an incredibly important element for Earth's harmony. So sadness, gratitude, even confusion, which you've made a lot of videos about, joy, like every single emotion has to move through you in order for you to move to a higher frequency, even at the extremes of rupture. This is the part where I had to come out of the shower because I had this, like, even at their extremes, rupture, rage, catharsis, elation, there's no toxic emotion in and of itself. Everything must be felt, which I know is a big teaching of yours as well.
Yeah.
Curious what you think about that. And the next kind of prompt that I'm wondering if you would say manifestation is about movement, like about moving, like moving emotions or like kind of moving yourself. I don't know where I got that from, but like there was one of your videos where you said like time and space doesn't move, you do.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's kind of
That was
like
a lot. I'm
connect
sorry.
all these pieces.
Let's
No,
synthesize.
I'm obsessed with the dripping wet, stepping out of the shower monologue, and yeah, I really believe that there's only one thing that brings down your vibration, and it's resistance. There's no other emotion brings down your vibration. I think we feel the worst when, for example, we're avoiding unworthiness. Right. And I love how you said it's that emotional rock bottom. And then once you kind of the emotional equivalent of a rock bottom, once you hit it, you just kind of rebound immediately. It's like that getting on your knees moment and whatever, praying to whatever you believe in or like releasing and surrendering. And then you're feeling a lot better afterwards, right? Because you're allowing that to experience itself. And what I tell my clients is every single thing that is alive wants to live, including your emotions. If you try to kill anything, what does it do? It fights back. That's the most painful creation within ourselves is resistance. So there is no bad emotion. Anything that you allow to be a teacher, a messenger is going to help you rise to whatever it is you're moving towards. So everything can be a teacher, yes. So is manifestation about movement? I think when I say manifestation is a lifestyle, what really you're moving towards is different experiences of yourself. And so rather than moving towards acceptance, right? You kind of move and vibrate at the frequency of acceptance. Like you are acceptance. You are living at the goalpost of acceptance. You don't need a thing to feel acceptance or worthiness. You just now want to move into almost like you just want to try different worlds. You're not getting to a different version or a more lovable version of yourself. It's like outfits. You're like, I want to know what it feels like to wear a leather jacket, right? You're still you, just with a leather jacket. And so whenever I start to experience a new desire coming in, I really try to phrase it in this way. So when I was coming to my book, which I'm writing right now, I remember thinking, ooh, I want to have like a cute book tour signing moment. And it's like, I'm just excited about what like little hat I'm going to wear, what pen I'm going to use, how I'm going to write my signature in the folds of the book, what messages I'm going to part to the people who are coming to see me and like read the book, what passages I want to read. Like I'm getting excited about what it's going to be like to inhabit this world, almost like I am this actress and I want to play as many roles as possible. And it's interesting because if you are someone who really loves acting, that would be the goal of your career, right? Is to experience as many possible expressions of yourself as you can. You wouldn't want to be just one kind of actress. People don't like being typecast, right? Oh,
Mhm.
she's always the funny one, or like she's always the one in the dramas where like she's crying. To be a quote unquote good actor or actress, you want to experience all these different expressions.
Mhm.
But there has to be something kind of core and essential to you that the audience maybe loves that they see in all of these movies. For example, like Leo, we've seen him be so many different characters from like young boy to like old man, right? But there's something kind of core and essential about him that's underneath all of these different expressions. I think that's kind of what we're experiencing through manifestation as a lifestyle. It's I am me, I am lovable, I am worthy, and what would it be like to experience myself in this reality? The reality is not access to a higher state. The highest state is love and acceptance of the self. That's what all religion, all spirituality, all meditation, all prayer, even working out, like all of that is you trying to access a state that you don't reject yourself. right? If you need a God to love you, amazing, awesome. Like use whatever you need. If you need to use your dog, great. I use my dog. I'm like, you love me so unconditionally. And I'm going to try to see myself through your eyes, right? But there's no reality that grants you like a higher state. And so once you get to this like this beautifully high frequency state of acceptance, you just get to play with like what realities you kind of want to move into. And now that you love yourself, you don't really resist them, right? So for example, I wanted to experience myself in Thailand, but I love myself now and I trust myself now, and I also know I'm going to trust myself over there. So there's nothing really stopping me from coming here, right? I think some people are afraid that, oh, I'm going to try and then it's not going to work out, and then I'm going to be mean to myself, right? This is always the unconscious. What's going on in the unconscious is I'm going to reject myself ultimately. But when you heal that relationship, you don't fear your own self-punishment. And so there's way less resistance towards anything you want to try out. You just let everything be like a let's just see what happens. And it's such a playful way to engage with reality. You're just like, yeah, I'm gonna go try that. And you're not asking that, whatever that is, to give you anything. It's just something you're trying. I think of it like going into an ice cream store and you're just like, wow, there's like so many flavors here. There's no right flavor or wrong flavor. There's not one flavor that gives you access to like a higher experience. It's not like, ooh, I really can't get this one wrong because, yeah, like I'm going to be way happier if I choose the right one. Right. And I'm going to be so mad at myself if I choose the wrong one. No, you just get to choose and you can go back to the drawing board. Right. If I had chosen this experience and I thought, I don't really like the experience of myself there that much. I want to experience myself somewhere else. But also, I have to say, once you experience yourself positively, you can pretty much make the best of any situation, which is
Mhm.
very freeing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love when coaches say, try it on. Like you said,
I
leather
know.
jacket. For
Yeah.
me, it's a pair of pants. Just try it on and see if it resonates. What do you mean by time and space doesn't move? You do. Everything you want already exists.
Every experience you could ever imagine yourself having, I don't want to sound cheesy by saying it already exists, but vibrationally it does because you've already thought about it. And maybe the details are a bit fuzzy, like when you imagine, for example, like a birthday party or something like that. You know it exists, but exactly what it's going to look like and how it's going to unfold is going to be kind of dependent on some factors on the day. So you can't predict perfectly, but you know that you can have that experience. The least amount of resistance you experience towards that experience of reality, the more rapidly you will experience it. So, for example, you probably don't experience that much resistance to throwing a birthday party. You're like, yeah, if I plan a birthday party, people will come and we will have a party. You don't stop yourself from picking a date, planning out the invitations, picking a playlist, buying a cake. You moved towards this thing. It's already there and you put into action these pieces. The reason why we don't experience something is because we can't hold it long enough. We can't perceive it as truth long enough to move into action. So
Mm.
we don't move towards it. So let's say you want to throw a party, but you have a limiting belief that no one's going to come. Party exists. You can experience that, but you have something in the way, which is no one's going to come, which stops you from movement, kind of related to your previous question. It stops you from making the guest list. It stops you from calling the people. It stops you from gathering these people and calling them to a certain place at a certain time. Another way I illustrated this in one of my courses was all manifestations are equal, just like the way universe sees all integers as the same. $1 and $1 million to the universe is just the difference of a few zeros. In terms of the value, it's not really weighted the way that we do it in our heads. And it's the same thing with all manifestations. Manifesting a bowl of spaghetti is just as easy slash hard as anything else you can imagine. But we don't experience that as hard. We're like, oh, that's easy. I just go to the store, I get some noodles, I make some sauce, I put it together. Now I have spaghetti. I think of everything like that. But there are certain things that are going to require more steps. Spaghetti, how many steps? Well, I got to get in the car, I got to go to the store, I got to do this. Maybe you can experience all that in one day. There are other things that you want to experience that are going to require probably more steps. Just like there are many things in the world that I can walk to, but there's going to be closer distances for me to walk to and further. And so I experience my reality of possibilities or possibilities to experience reality that way. everything's at a certain place on the universal map. Yeah, I can kind of plot my destination, of course, enjoy the way there, but know that whatever I'm walking to, it's already there. I don't need to come up with like a bunch of reasons why it can't happen, why it won't happen. I just need to experience it as truth if I want to have that experience. The interesting thing, though, is that once we access a sense of self love and acceptance, is a lot of things we were interested in experiencing kind of fall away. We're like, well, I don't really care about that anymore because I
Well,
love myself.
yeah, I love the cartology analogy too, because as you're walking, you're like, whoa, there are so many cool things around, around me now. So
Mhm.
many places to see and people to talk to exactly where I am now. And that doesn't mean like you can pause, you can stop walking for a little bit, you can hang out, like,
Yeah.
stop and smell the roses. And then you can continue. There is somebody who walked all the way across Europe and Asia, I think. Anyway, yeah, I love that because then I can actually visualize it. Like all the places, the destinations are there. You kind of just have to like
They're all there.
moving your way towards you. But if you
Yeah.
don't think that it's there, then you're not going to be
Why would
walking.
you why would you walk there? Right. Yeah, it's like if I saw on my GPS like, "Oh, that's a dead end." I'm like, "Okay, not going that way." You want to perceive the place you're going to as real and possible so that you move. But also by doing this work of manifestation as a lifestyle and accessing a loving relationship to self now, it's really about the walk. And think about someone walking all the way through Europe and Asia. Is it about getting to the end of the walk? No, the whole experience is the walk.
Yeah.
Like when they come back, they're not going to be like, yeah, I finished it so fast.
I think
Can
it
you
took him
imagine it?
27 years because I remember watching it and being like, wow, he's been walking as long as I've been living.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But the whole point of the walk is what the walk was like, not I finished it. I finished the walk. I'm done now. Right.
Yeah.
And that's how most of us are living our lives. We're like, oh my God, I got to the outcome. I finished the thing. Am I okay? Am I safe? Yeah, no, you're safe once you have a loving relationship to self. That's the only thing you've been trying to access through all those things. Now it just becomes about what can I enjoy as I experience myself walking towards these things. And I tell all of my clients to set impossible goals. And the point of the impossible goal is think of something so inconceivably like unrealistic for yourself and make that your goal. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, why would I do that if I'm not going to be able to reach it?" Yeah, it's not about reaching it. It's about who you become as you move towards that. That's your journey. Your life is not about I reached all my goals. It's who are you experiencing yourself as on the way to these things and just set something super far in the future because or in the possibility of realities because you don't need this thing anymore to make you happy. It just gets to be like a target that you're like moving towards, right? Maybe it's like I really want to like help 1 billion people. Awesome. Now you know what you're supposed to be doing every day. Service oriented work in whatever your ministry is, right? And so it's not about, oh, I finally helped 1 billion people. Now I can relax. It's no, I'm being a person who helps people every day. That's how I want to experience myself. And so whatever like impossible goal you have to set to remind you of what your purpose is in your daily life, that's great. I don't think it's, oh, I need to get this done so that I can stop. I think it's who do I want to consistently be?
Why am I stumped on an impossible goal, though? What's yours? I don't know if I have one.
That was my impossible goal for the longest time.
Help 1 billion
was to
people.
help 1 billion people. It's just this overarching sort of thing that keeps me in a service-oriented, heart-centered place where I'm like, oh yeah, like that's what I want to do. And I'm not waiting to get 1 billion letters from the world saying like, Sam, you helped me. It's just a invitation to be the most helpful version of myself and show up in my business in that way. I don't need to help 1 billion people to feel worthy. It'd be cool.
Well, if
It
you
would be.
weren't all the way in Thailand, I would send you a letter. I suppose I could find a way to do it because I am one of those billion. And I absolutely love your message and most importantly, who you are as you present the message and like how it comes out of you could tell it comes from a heart-centered place, 100%. To conclude,
Thank you.
something new that I'm doing with guests now is at the end asking, what do you like or love about yourself?
I love how courageous I am. I think that learning that my value was courage in my 20s was the most incredible thing I could have integrated because it allowed me to not wait to feel certain. And I think for so long, I was waiting for certainty, which is really not a thing we can even achieve. It's sort of an arbitrary mental state we land on. But instead of waiting to even land there, I was like, I'm just going to be brave. And my whole life in the last 10 years has been led by that value, which is courage. And so I would encourage anyone to live with courage in their heart, because it's going to allow you to leap to places you never imagined.
It's never clicked that in courage has the word courage in it. Thank you so much for passing that on. I feel so honored and grateful and privileged that I got to like talk to you in real life and essentially be coached. This is like what people pay thousands of dollars for, y'all. Okay. Anyway.
Yes. Integrate everything from this episode and you don't need coaching, honestly.
Take notes. Thank you. If you're enjoying our self-love podcast, please take a moment to leave a comment or a review letting me know what your biggest takeaway was. As somebody who works mostly behind the scenes on this podcast, I love hearing from you, and it just keeps me connected to the purpose, which is always to spread the gift of self-love.